So I just wanted to introduce myself also, so Michelle Cordova. So I wanted to show you a picture of my awesome family. We had a family vacation this fall in North Carolina, and it's the first time we've all been together in 8 years, so it was awesome. So I have a little granddaughter there, and I just got a new little granddaughter last week. So, yay. So just a little bit about myself. I've been a nurse since 1985. So when everybody's saying when they graduated, I graduated in 1985. Not from here, from Utah. So I've worked in a whole bunch of different areas of nursing. I started in pediatrics in Utah and moved on to geriatrics. So most of my experience is pediatrics and geriatrics, and just a little bit in between ER and med surg a little bit. So at this point in my life, I am working as full-time as a school nurse at Green River High School. I also have the alternative high school in Green River. And so today I'm just going to share a little bit about school nursing, and then also some of the ways that it helps support women's health. So, the National Association of School Nurses defines school nursing as a specialized practice of public health that protects and promotes student health, facilitates normal development, and advances academic success. School nurses, grounded in ethical and evidence-based practice, are leaders that bridge healthcare and education. They provide care coordination, advocate for quality student-centered care, and collaborate to design systems that allow individuals and communities to develop their full potential. So school nurses are part of the public health sector of nursing. So my biggest job is that I promote wellness. So I have the opportunity every day to promote health and wellness in every student that comes into my office. And it is a blast to work in a high school. So these young people are just starting to have their own opinions about their health and how to care for themselves. And some of their ideas are really great, and some of their ideas are not so great. So it's really an impressionable time, and I really hope that I can provide them with factual health information. So, so my focus will be kind of young women's health. First of all, there is a Wyoming state statute that covers reproductive health in the state of Wyoming. And I don't remember if Amanda said something about that, but because that really falls with you and with community nursing. And that is the right to reproductive care, no matter what age. And so you did hear Amanda say that, kids can come into her clinic at any age. And that's because of that Wyoming state statute. Okay. Also, that supports us, and also my nursing license supports me in confidentiality. Now, I do, when I have students come to my office, and I tell them everything is confidential that you tell me in my office, if we're in my office behind closed doors and no one else is there. Okay, if they bring their buddy with them, I always make sure, is it okay if your friend is here with you? And I cannot guarantee confidentiality if there's another person in the room. Okay. But I can if it's me and the student. And that's because of my nursing license, and it's also because of that Wyoming state statute. Now, there are some exceptions to that rule, and I always have to tell them right up front that if you tell me you're going to harm yourself, or you tell me you're going to harm someone else, I have to tell someone. I have to get you help. I have to get them help. So they can't come tell me that they're going to go kill their neighbor, and I keep that confidential. I have to let someone know. So with, suicide is a big area in the teenage years. And so if someone tells me they're going to kill themselves, that is something that I have to get them help for. And I let them know right up front that I can't keep that confidential. Okay. So, being a school nurse puts me in a unique position to educate young women about their bodies. So we start off in the 5th grade with the maturation presentation. So every 5th grader in Sweetwater 2 gets the maturation program, learning about their bodies, and the school nurses do teach that. Then also we provide education during health classes. So our middle school nurse goes into the 7th grade health class, and I go into the 10th grade health class, and then our elementary nurse also does 5th grade health classes. So some of the things that we talk about during health class is we discuss HIV, STD, STI, and pregnancy prevention. Okay, and then of course the nutrition and exercise, we go into a lot of that. So mostly in my office, I'm a referral office. I don't really do anything clinical in my office. So if I have a student that comes to me and says, I think I might be pregnant. So we go through the options or the discussion of what makes you think you might be pregnant. And I've heard some really kind of interesting things with that, you know. Well, I sat in the hot tub with my boyfriend, really? And we were both naked, and I think I'm pregnant now. So, did you have intercourse? Well, even at the high school level there, well, no, and nothing really touched, and nothing, you know. So we go through that whole discussion of what makes you think you might be pregnant. Then, if I offer them resources. Well, there are different ways to find out if you're pregnant. Do you feel like you want to go home and talk to your parent and see about getting a pregnancy test? Is that an option for you? Well, if that's not an option, then let's see. Well, we have these resources in town, and my referrals are to Western Wyoming Reproductive Health and also Sweetwater Community Nursing Services. Usually what happens is I will go through their hours with the student and see if it's possible for them to make the trip over to Rock Springs to get a free pregnancy test. And even though Green River is 12 miles away, and for me it's not a big deal to drive back and forth to Rock Springs, for a 14-year-old girl who doesn't drive, doesn't have a job, is supposed to be home right after school, or parents get upset, making the trip over to Rock Springs is a big deal. Sometimes even leaving school during school hours, if she has a friend that can take her, that's not an option either, because then we still have to mark her absent, because we have to be responsible for the students in school. If there were a fire or something, we have to make sure we know where every student is, and if we let a student just take off during the day without permission, and we have no way of tracking that, or they're on the road and it's December and they're driving to Rock Springs and I gave them permission to leave school, that's a big liability for me. So I cannot grant a student permission to leave school to come get a pregnancy test in Rock Springs. We have really great people. In fact, I have cell phone numbers of 4 of the nurses at community nursing, and also Amanda's cell phone number. And I call them, and not once have I ever been denied in my 14 years of school nursing. One of them will run over and do a pregnancy test in my office at the school. So that student usually And it's usually if they can't, if it's the end of the day and they can't get there before school ends, they're there first thing in the next morning. So that's, a really great service, really great resources that we have in our community. Okay.
Michelle, if one of those tests does come back positive on a younger person, what's the next course of action?
So let's say there's a positive pregnancy and the community health nurse is sitting right there with the student. They always ask the student, is it okay if I'm in the room when we give the results? They ask the student that because she has the right to say no. Not yet has anyone said no, but I assume, because they're just glad that I set that up for them. But the next step would be, or let's say they brought me in the stick that they brought to school to take in my bathroom and show me, then the next step is I talk about resources. Okay, so now it's time, you have a positive test. Is this something you feel safe talking to boyfriend about? And I guess I got to go back to when I'm asking them, why do they think they're pregnant, and blah, blah, blah. I always ask them, did you grant permission for this sexual experience? So I always kind of go through that. Was it, just to make sure that it wasn't a coercion or a rape or, something like that, or that it was, consensual. Yes.
Is it often that women come in and do this in high school?
Is it often? It depends on what you consider often.
About how many in
3 or 4 a month.
Yeah.
3 or 4 a month.
Wow.
Probably.
Positive or just coming because they're
Coming because they need it. They think they might be pregnant. And for even some of those reasons, they might have just been holding hands.
Sure.
So,
How many students are in the high school?
850.
850.
850.
Michelle is caring for 850 people on a daily basis.
I don't know all their names.
Nurse staff.
So, and 60 at my alternative high school.
Yeah,
Wow.
910.
Of all those children that you just said in high school, what grade or age are the ones that are coming to you about fears of pregnancy? Like she was
Ninth graders.
Ninth graders. Wow, she's thinking the same thing about ninth graders.
Ninth graders. Yeah, that's the biggest group that I see. So back to what comes next after they tell me or we know that it's a positive pregnancy. So then we go over, you have 3 options. You have parenting, adoption, and abortion, and let me find some resources for you for all 3. And so I usually refer them then either to community nursing, especially if they need, they're not on any insurance or something like that. Now, if they are on their parents' insurance and it's a positive pregnancy test, I let them know that, okay, we need to start prenatal care. I mean, that's my goal, is to get them in for some kind of prenatal care, no matter what choice they make. It's I want them to get prenatal care. So we talk about those options. How is a 14-year-old going to get prenatal care without their parents' permission? Well, we can go to community nursing and they can discuss all of that. And I can just pass it off to them. Or, we can continue and I talk about how likely is it that you could talk to your parents or guardians about this. If it's an absolutely no way, my dad will kill me and he has a shotgun in the closet, I give them the option of, hey, we can bring your parents in, we can talk to them together. Or I, share suggestions of how to talk to parents, things like that. But what I do give them is I give them a time limit, not for discussing with their parents, but I give them a time limit of getting prenatal care, and that's 13 weeks. So I kind of figure from the last menstrual period to positive pregnancy test, I kind of get that estimation of how far along they are. And I give them 13 weeks to get prenatal care. I'm going to check up with you every week, and we need to get you into prenatal care before 13 weeks. Now, after the 13 weeks, I'll bring them in. They still haven't talked to mom or dad or guardian. Then I let them know that it is my obligation to get this fetus care, to get you care. And 13 weeks is the recommended beginning of for prenatal care. And so we've got to do something. You've got to have an appointment. So you can make an appointment right now today in my office, or we can call parents and get an appointment made. But that's kind of my goal, is to get that prenatal care. After that, it becomes the fetus's right to care. And that 13 weeks is kind of that magic number that I use. So yeah.
So once they hit that 13 weeks, because of you're caring for the fetus now, does that kind of eliminate the patient confidentiality that you have to stand by? Or
No, it does not eliminate confidentiality, but I work really, really hard to to get that. And only one time have I ever pushed it to 13 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So you can't call their parents ever without their permission?
Nope.
What if there's a situation where she's at risk?
If she's at risk, and it would be a 911 call.
Maybe not like an imminent risk, but
Mhm.
let's say, I'm trying to think of a situation that would pose a concern to her. Maybe she has diabetes and this pregnancy is causing some really unstable blood sugars.
So then we would discuss that, okay, so this is causing other problems. So now I do need to call your parent
Okay.
because your blood sugars are running at 30 and 40 and nothing is keeping them up. And
So that kind of negates the confidentiality once there's a risk. Okay.
So students generally come straight to you, or do they go through a counselor? And do they try and do it secretly, maybe?
oh, I'm sure they do. I'm sure there's ones I have no idea about that maybe went to the counselor instead of me. So, I don't know. I feel that it's part of my job, though, to provide, I guess, a place where they can come and talk to me, a safe place about anything, not just about pregnancy, about sexuality, about, any kind of questioning their sexuality. Those kind of students also, I see some of those. Now I do a lot of referring to our school counselors. We have one counselor that's specifically designated for personal counseling, and then one that's designated for academic counseling. So there's that distinction. And so depending on their needs is which counselor I refer to. But some of them will go see the counselor and bring me with them, and some won't go see a counselor. And it's dependent on the student.
I feel like, just because I've substituted for you before when I first moved back to Wyoming, Michelle provides a really open, warm environment, and students turn that corner to your office or to the area where she's at, and they just have a big smile, and they were always waiting to see you, and it was like, they saw saw me, they were like, uh-oh, you know. But the thing is they will sit down as long as you're in that office, and they just spill the beans. I was never more surprised at the things that I learned. And I can't, you know, I was from the ER, right? I'm working in the ER. It was just like my part-time thing was to go in and sub school nurse just to have something to do on some of those days. And it was very interesting. But really, a lot of times they just wanted to talk, right? To have
Yeah.
someone to talk to and actually get some accurate information. So.
Yeah, is this normal? Or am I crazy? Or, you know, my friend says this, and is this true? You know, so.
So we're focusing on women's health primarily, but can you talk to us about any males that you might see coming into your office also with reproductive health issues?
So I have had males come in and, you know, I'm having some burning, some itching, maybe some STI signs and symptoms, especially after I talk about them in the health class. And I get a whole group of itchy things going on. So yeah, I do have males. I have a lot of males and females that come in for condoms. I do have condoms in my office, and those are provided to me by Wyoming Reproductive Health. So Amanda provides me those. So I have those available. And I have my condom king little kid that comes in twice a week for all his friends because he's the only one brave enough to come in.
How many are you going through in a week with him?
Well, you know, with him,
That's just interesting. He's
I-
a distributor.
I put 5 in a baggie
Okay.
with community nursing's information and reproductive health information. I have. I just made copies of all their information. And so they have a little baggie with 5 condoms and information for both of those offices that's how I hand them out.
Does it come with instructions?
No, yeah, really.
Yes.
Okay, use them.
So, yeah, so the big box of condoms that I get, that I carried around that case you gave me in my car for, 10,000 at a time or something. Anyway, they have these little inserts that show you how to do it. And I have had, you know, of course, those, or, well, it was a couple, a girl and a boy, and, you know, and with the counselor brought me in because they weren't using condoms because he was sure that there was not one large enough for him. So, remember that demonstration. So, what you do. Yes. So, working with teenagers, you get a good poker face. But so that's when you put the condom over your wrist and pull it up to your elbow and say, "Honey, if he is bigger than this, run." So, yeah. Sorry.
The condom won't fit, or the hot tub, or the holding hands. So do you feel like there's a huge lack of education?
Yes.
Like, because you can only teach so much, but like where the school mandates and everything, do you feel like there should be more education?
With our school mandates, we are a comprehensive education district. And I found this out about 5 years ago. I always thought we were abstinent-based. That's what I thought our rules were, because that's what the nurse before me told me, and that's what, you know, everybody had told me. Well, no, we've been a comprehensive education school district for at least as long as I've worked there. And they just don't tell anybody that. So that means the health teacher can bring me into the classroom and I can answer any questions that they want answered. Now have been times where I've said, you know what, that's a really great question. Meet me in my office after this class and we'll discuss. Because there's a lot of shock questions in high school, seeing if they can shock me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they don't think I'm old enough to be shocked. I'm old enough to be. That nothing shocks me anymore.
Michelle, have you seen an increase in transgender issues or students that have questions?
I have not seen an increase in questioning and kids that have questions about that or that are maybe wondering. I haven't seen an increase in that. What I have seen an increase has been the openness of it
Expression.
and a kid expressing it. Exactly. So I have seen an increase in that.
Do you feel like it's a more supportive environment? Or
Yes.
at least a supportive environment for,
More so. We have a long way to go.
yeah.
A really long way to go with teachers, with faculty, especially. That's a Michelle opinion.
Yeah.
So that's not that's not a fact. That's an opinion of my own. Yes.
Young women that become pregnant and then have a child, are they encouraged to stay in school by the school
Yes. Yes.
and finish their high
So until last year, we had a daycare at our high school. We lost funding for our daycare, and it had gotten to the point where we didn't have any students' children going to the daycare because we ran out of students with children. Yeah, not a bad thing. What I have seen though with teen pregnancies is a kind of a cycle where 1 year we'll have a whole bunch of people thinking they're pregnant, and then the next year none. And it kind of goes in a cycle.
If you have a student in Green River that's pregnant, will they give them like a zone variance to Roxford High School where there is a daycare?
I'm sure they would if they wanted to.
They're not strict about that kind of stuff?
No.
Do they have resources for childcare for students that would become pregnant since the daycare is not?
We do now have a daycare at the CDC building, which is in our parking lot, basically.
Right.
And so that's where we refer them to now.
Okay.
Although we don't have any students with children that are in school right now.
Okay.
So we do have a pregnancy, but not.
A resource.
But we have in the past had.
What is this is always kind of a sticky question that what do you do with that parent that says, I don't want my kid to know about this. This is, don't teach them that, don't give them condoms, don't, all of those things. Do you still have parents that are doing that?
So-
How do you approach it?
Every time we do the sex ed, STD, STI unit in health class, there's a permission form that goes home, and parents have to sign it if they don't want their kid to participate. They do nothing if they want their kid to participate. If they don't want their kid to participate, the parent needs to sign that form and return it.
Do you inform the parents that you're sending kids home?
Not in high school. There is,
So if the child
if the child
wants to
does,
do it,
yeah,
they
I
don't have
mean,
to
they're
take
in
it
high
to
school, we
high
kept pin notes to their coats and send them home anymore. Although parents would like us to do that.
For sure.
But if parents keep up on, the units are all labeled on the Infinite Campus that parents can get into, things like that. So if parents want to know what's going on, they certainly can. And it's easy for them to get on the computer.
You said that you were the school nurse for the high school and alternative. What about the middle school over there? Do they have a school nurse available?
They do. They have a school nurse for, it's a 5-6 school and a 7-8 school is what we have. And so there's one school nurse for those 4 grades.
Okay.
And then there's 2 for our 4 middle school, or 4 elementary schools, plus a part-time.
So back to what she was asking, if the parent doesn't want them getting the condoms and knowing about it, but the kid wants to know, wants the condoms and everything, and they go to your office, what do you do?
They can get condoms. Yeah, it's the kid's reproductive right. Remember that Wyoming state statute that guarantees reproductive health? So, yeah.
Adding like to that, like it's not, like there's a disconnect in there somewhere because there's that they have the right as young as they want.
Mhm.
They can go get help and they can get, you know, education and they can, but if they are in a situation where they're very young and need an abortion, then they have to get their parents involved. Like,
So, do you
Like
want to
that
answer that
disconnect.
about
Well, that's not
the
it.
abortion
So
law,
that's
about
just
parent
in the state of
permission
Wyoming.
in the state of Wyoming?
Yeah, in the state of Wyoming, but we don't even have any abortion providers. So they can go to Utah and Colorado and get it without parental consent. So it varies by state. So yes, there's a disconnect, but at the same time, we don't actually have a full connection here in Wyoming, period. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what our statutes say.
Yeah.
the hard thing is like we're talking
Montana.
about the system, there's like, wait, there's a stopping point there and you have to at some point get the parents involved and then that takes all of that right back away from the kids.
It does,
Makes
especially
them
when
not
it
want
comes
to-
to like prenatal care
Not trust
and
them.
they're on their parents' insurance. Yeah, parents are gonna know. I mean, there's just really no way around that when it gets to that point. Yeah, you had a question?
So the prevalence of these girls that come in that don't want their parents knowing anything.
You know, really, I have to say half and half. I have been surprised by the students that don't care that their parents know or are willing to go home that night or come back the next day and say, hey, yeah, I did talk to my mom about it.
Is there a socioeconomic relationship?
Not
You know,
that I've
like-
noticed.
Like if their parents are, if they consider their parents like a higher class society and they don't want them to know.
I don't know.
Whereas, if their parents are just a more normal, accepting person.
I think it all depends on the relationship that the parent has with their child in the first place. That's kind of what it depends on. I don't really think it falls into any socioeconomic.
I'm sure it's probably a lot of like faith-based too, like if they're LDS or.
Could be.
Then probably parents will.
Although I've had some of all of the above.
I think that that's, a lot of good assumptions can be acknowledged right now, right?
Yeah.
Comparing communication within families to socioeconomic status and religion. Maybe there's some assumptions that need to be challenged there, right? Okay, so parenting and communication doesn't always correlate that way, right? So just be aware of those things. Those are good questions, but I challenge you to acknowledge those assumptions that you have. Okay, does anybody have any final questions for Michelle? Yes, over here.
So just with like how you guys were saying the patient and like provider confidentiality and everything, and with like all of the clinics that we've heard from, your guys' goal is not to like keep a secret. Like you don't like you're just a safe place, but you want them to like be able to talk to their parents.
Oh, exactly.
Like I feel like
I try and really go out of my way to give them opportunities to talk with their parents, whether it's to bring them into the school where it's kind of safe for them, because the parent's not going to freak out and yell in my office with me there. Now they may go home and get in trouble, but we discussed that. When I've had parents in my office, we discussed that we really want to have an open communication going with you. So your student feels safe coming to you if they have problems, if there's something going on, and call me. I can call your student in and we can discuss it. If you don't feel like it. Yeah, I've been a mediator many times. So yeah,
But the parents aren't required either.
no, not required.
Do you get many parents that call you, and I know they take like the classes, but that ask you to talk to their kids about it if they're in 9th grade and they take the class in 10th and say, I'm uncomfortable talking to my kid, can you talk to them about it?
I've had parents ask me to do that, yeah. But I also let the parents know that if they ask me a question, I'm going to give them an answer. So, it's kind of like that thing, don't ask me a question if you don't want me to give you the answer, or you don't want me to be honest. I'm going to give you an honest answer.
Any other questions for Michelle? Okay.